Hi, welcome to TheGunBlog.ca. My name is Nicholas Johnson. I wanted to offer a quick review and outlook of where things stand for Canadian gun rights at the end of the first quarter of 2023. I'm recording this on the 31st of March, 2023. There's been a lot that's happened in the past few weeks and some big things coming up. I just wanted to give a status update. We'll go through some slides. Here are the main points that I'll cover in the next few minutes. And there's some good news. I know that often things look quite bleak and negative and grim and dark for us, but there's actually a little bit of good-ish news in what I'm going to say. Budget 2023. The Liberals presented their annual budget this week, and it looks like the mass gun confiscations are on hold. Alberta passed its Firearms Act to block Trudeau's gun confiscations. SECU, that's the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security, the committee that's reviewing Bill C-21 in the House of Commons. There's actually some good news. They offered a voter masterclass in what's wrong with our political and legislative system. I'll be getting into that. Great news, Bill C-21 is stalled. It's not off the books as far as we know, but it is stalled. It hasn't gone anywhere for weeks, or you could even argue months. The Liberals are clueless how to execute their mass gun confiscations. That's great news. Also, we'll look at the Nova Scotia Mass Casualty Commission. It presented its report this week. We'll look at some of the anti-gun bias and how they are purely pro-liberal and anti-gun. And I'd like to talk about what's in the outlook. A court hearing coming up, definitely an election at some point, and the short-term and long-term outlook for Canadian gun owners. All right, let's hit these one by one. Budget. The Liberals presented their annual budget this week. A lot of us looked for what the government said about the mass confiscations that they ordered in May 2020. This is the rifle and shotgun confiscations that they ordered on May 1st, 2020. So here's what the budget says about the confiscations. Investing in firearms IT infrastructure. IT usually refers to information technology. And you see the numbers across the top here. These are millions of dollars. The first box is what was budgeted for last year. Again, the government's fiscal year begins on April 1st, so it begins April 1st, 2023. That's the $18 million budgeted for the year beginning April 1st, 2023. $8 million budgeted for the year after that. That's 2024, 2025. And you see $1 million for the following years, for a total of $29 million budgeted for the next 5 years. What are they doing? Are they confiscating firearms? No. I quote here, funding proposed for Public Safety Canada and the RCMP to implement an IM/IT, I guess that's computer, solution to compensate firearm owners and businesses and safely remove assault-style firearms from Canadian communities. So the long and the short of it is over the next 5 years, they're budgeting $29 million to build a computer system that they hope will allow them to confiscate and compensate. So that means that there's no confiscation door-to-door planned for the next long time because they don't even have the computer system. They've got nothing. They have no idea how to proceed. So this is fantastic. Budget 2023 is the latest concrete indicator that the government, the Liberals, have no idea how to execute their confiscation fantasy. Now, when I say that, what I'm talking about is going door to door, the house raids, business raids to confiscate our guns. At the moment, what they have in place is slow-mo confiscation. In other words, when you die, you can't pass on your guns that were prohibited on May 1st, 2020. They end up getting seized and, I guess, melted. What I'm talking about, the confiscations are on hold. That's the door-to-door house raids. Those are on hold for at least a little while. That means the government will have to extend its limited and partial amnesty. Right now, that deadline expires on 30th of October, 2023. There's no way they're going to get it done. They're saying they're hoping to start the confiscations in 2023, but this budget item would suggest that they're not starting the confiscations for 1 or 2 years. Why is this good news? A, house raids are off. B, with every day that passes, we're getting closer to the next election. And election is not looking good for the Liberals. There could be change there. We'll talk more about that in the Outlook section. Okay, Other bit of good news. Alberta passed its Firearms Act this week. It became law on the 28th of March, 2023. Why is this good news? Well, the Alberta Firearms Act has a lot of components. The one I'm going to focus on is how it blocks the Liberal gun confiscations, the federal gun confiscations. Because very simply, Alberta said, if you want to confiscate, you need a license, a provincial license, and we're not going to authorize any licenses. We're not going to issue any licenses. So that's what Alberta has said. There could be a court challenge. There's some people are saying, oh, well, they can't do that. Gun stuff is federal. They can't take over the federal authority and do provincial stuff. So there could be a court case, a court challenge from the federal government. But as of right now, Alberta is blocking confiscation. Also, some context around these mass gun confiscations that Trudeau ordered on May 1st, 2020. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. The public doesn't want them. The provincial politicians don't want them. The police, who'd be presumably asked to go house to house to go round these things up, don't want them. They have actual real work to do. There's a few fanatics in the Liberal Party who want them, but even within the Liberal Party, there's a lot of MPs who don't want this. We have to remember that. And of course, there are some people, including some gun owners, who want the confiscations. But overall, generally, this is not an issue that the Canadian public wants or even cares about. Of course, we care about it because they are our guns, our property. We believe gun ownership is important. So we definitely care about this. This is a huge issue for us, but nobody wants the confiscations. It's not a political winner. Just a bit of context around the confiscations. Next, I want to talk about Bill C-21. Bill C-21 is stalled. It's currently at the review stage with SECU, the House of Commons Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security. They have their last meeting, you see there, was March 10th. So they haven't had a meeting for 3 weeks. Now, the House of Commons is on break for the next 2 weeks until mid-April. Could this thing pass through SECU? Could Bill C-21 be approved by SECU and make it to the Senate and become law before the summer recess? I believe it's possible. Again, I'm not a political insider. I do believe that the Liberals are very savvy and clever and devious politically, so they may have a plan to get it done. I don't know. Is it possible? The calendar would suggest yes. Is it probable? I have no idea. Right now, Bill C-21 is stalled. A good thing about SECU, I encourage everyone to watch the SECU hearings. They're public. They're on the website. You can watch the videos. And it is absolutely staggering to watch. If you're new to the political process, you've got to watch. You'll see how broken the political system is. You have MPs, members of parliament, who are in charge of passing laws. In this case, criminal law, the most serious and severe law of the land. And they know nothing about the topic they're voting on. Or at least they pretend to know nothing. They don't know a thing about guns, about how guns operate, about how ammo works, about gun culture, about the firearm economy, about the gun lifestyle, about hunting, about sport shooting, about survival, about the outdoors. They don't actually know a thing about existing gun policy in many cases, or what the existing laws say. They are absolutely clueless. They have total, some of them, not all of them, some of them have total disrespect and disregard for the gun community, for the gun culture, for people for whom gun ownership is important. Absolute disregard for us. And when you see people who are absolutely ignorant, full of disrespect, some people would even say hatred, but disdain and contempt for gun owners, they are passing laws. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to watch the videos. I'll try to remember to link in the description to one that was really good with Olympic sport shooter Lynda Kiejko. She was at one of the most recent meetings. Just phenomenal listening to the response. And CCFR has also done a whole series of videos. That's the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. A whole series of videos on the sham and the circus that happens at SECU. So, bottom line, big takeaway, Bill C-21 is stalled for now. Mass Casualty Commission investigating the Nova Scotia massacre of April 2020, they gave their final report on March 30th. I haven't gone through the thousands of pages. I've gone through specifically the aspects that affect access to firearms. And you notice here, recommendation C-21. This is interesting to read. I'm going to read it. Their heading is called Reducing Gun Lethality. The Commission recommends that The federal government should amend the criminal code to prohibit all semi-automatic handguns and all semi-automatic rifles and shotguns that discharge centerfire ammunition and that are designed to accept detachable magazines with capacities of more than 5 rounds. I can almost imagine the people who wrote this winking at each other and how clever they were, because recommendation C-21, well, that's exactly the point of Bill C-21, is to prohibit and eventually confiscate all semi-auto, centerfire rifles and shotguns that take detachable mags. Now, there's 6 or 7 other recommendations specifically related to firearm ownership, remote storage, and magazines, and access to ammunition, and there's all sorts of other stuff. It's completely anti-gun. It's completely repeating pro-Liberal Party talking points. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but it is striking that their chief recommendation in terms of access to firearms is recommendation C-21. They're not even hiding that they are pro-Liberal Party anti-gun agenda. It's bad. Okay, I want to get into this in a second. At the end of the first quarter of 2023, we have some good news. I don't want to call them wins, but we're holding the line. There haven't been any advances in the confiscation prohibition agenda for months and months and months. There haven't been any advances. The last big advance in the anti-gun agenda, I would say, was the one in October, the order in council to begin the confiscation of handguns. Okay. No one's talked about handguns for 6 months. I find that really weird. But that was the last advance. Since the middle of October, it's been holding the line and some retreats. How do things look going forward? In the next 2 weeks, House of Commons is on break, so there's going to be nothing much happening politically, I don't think. There will be a federal court hearing. That's the big federal court hearing with the 6 challengers opposing the May 1st order in council, May 1st, 2020. That hearing starts on the 11th of April for 8 days. I encourage you to watch that. I'm going to be watching as much as I can. So that could be very interesting to see how it's argued and what is said. Do I believe that the court will make a decision that we like? No, I do not believe that. Do I hope that they will be fair? I hope that they will be fair and factual. Do I expect them to make a decision that we like? No, I do not. What if they do make a decision that we like and they say that the order in council of May 2020 is invalidated, it was illegal? What does that change? Well, that could be very interesting. Could the government just issue a new order in council to clean things up? I believe they could and do things properly. Anyway, I'm not optimistic in a court solution. Besides the federal court, besides the big federal court hearing, there's a whole bunch of hearings still happening in provincial courts on a Section 74 challenge. That could also be very important in how things play out in the confiscation prohibition agenda. But the big event coming up starts April 11th with the federal court hearing. Another thing in terms of outlook, a lot of people who read TheGunBlog.ca are hardcore conservatives, and they believe that the conservatives are definitely going to win the next election, and they don't understand that a third of the country would still vote Liberal if an election were held today. This chart is from 338canada.com. They're an aggregator of polls, and this is the seat projection. So this is not the popular vote. This is the seat projection. I don't really care about the popular vote. I care about how would those votes translate into seats in the House of Commons. So you need 170 seats for a majority. No, you need a majority to get things done. You can see here that the CPC, the Conservative Party of Canada, is nowhere near a majority. They're neck and neck with the Liberals based on voting intentions as of the date here shown as March 26, 2023. They're neck and neck with the Liberals. It's a toss-up. If there were an election held today, it would be a toss-up. So people who are believing that the Conservatives are going to save you, I would encourage you to do a reality check. There's no way at the moment that they're anywhere close to a majority that they would need to make sweeping changes. But let's play what if. What if the Conservatives get in? What if Pierre Poilievre, as I hope, is the next Prime Minister of Canada? I really sincerely wish that that would be the case. Can they politically undo the handgun prohibitions, the May 1st, 2020 prohibitions? Could they sweep away Bill C-21 if Bill C-21 passes? No. I mean, they could repeal the OICs in theory, but once that's in law, if Bill C-21 passes, they're cooked. Without a majority, they can't do anything. Even if they have a majority, though, I believe it's politically impossible. They could not reinstate handgun ownership and AR-15 ownership and all those other semi-auto black rifle ownership. They could not do it politically because the media will crucify them. It's the same headlines we've seen all along. Conservatives want to bring back assault rifles on the streets and all that kind of stuff. The media, and assisted by the Liberals, NDP, Bloc Québécois, would crucify them. So it's politically undoable in the current climate. I wanted to give a little reality check. Where does that leave me personally in terms of my outlook? Well, short-term, long-term. Short-term, I'm optimistic. Bill C-21 is stalled. The anti-gun initiatives are stalled. The house-to-house confiscations are on hold. The government doesn't have a clue how to execute them, which is fantastic. So right now, at this moment, relative to what is on the books, we're okay. We're doing well. It's a happy way to end the first quarter. When I look longer term, what is planned? What is the culture, this anti-gun prohibitionist movement that is actually dominant in our culture at the moment? Yeah, long-term outlook, not good. Long-term outlook for legal gun ownership in Canada is bad. Over the coming years and decades, legal gun ownership, I believe, is on its way out. And I want to temper that with some possible good news. This chart here. This is a chart. It's available at TheGunBlog.ca. It's the most visited page actually at TheGunBlog.ca, the facts and stats page. This is gun imports. The source for the information is Statistics Canada. I built the chart. And so you got rifles are in blue, shotguns are in orange, handguns are in green, and muzzle loaders are in purple. What does it show? From 1988, that's the earliest available data, until last year, 2022. So let's pretend you're looking in the year 1999, the late 90s. The outlook was bleak, so bleak. You lost 3/4 of the market, vanished in 7 years, boomed like a downward plunge. That's after the 1989 Polytechnique massacre and the introduction of the 1995 Anti-Firearms Act. Market evaporates in 7 years. Outlook is the dark. And look what happens over the next 20, 30 years. Look at the arrow going up and to the right in terms of gun imports. Why do gun imports matter? Well, because almost every gun in Canada is imported. So this is essentially a way to look at the market. All of these imported guns end up in our gun safes. What's my point here? My point is that just because things look pretty bleak right now, things can change. Political situation can change, social situation can change, cultural situation can change. Today, all I'm offering is a snapshot of how things look right now, and as of right now, the outlook for legal gun ownership in Canada is bleak, but it can change. Also, notice I'm saying legal gun ownership. Sources of hope. The black market, 3D printers, and hopefully technology within a few years. We'll be getting our laser blasters and our photon ray guns and phasers and energy weapons and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually a technological optimist. But in terms of firearms that we know that fire cartridges and bullets and yada, 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 that is slow decline over the coming years and decades. Anyway, if you want any firearm designed in the 20th century, forget it. Canada has gone back to the 1800s with bolt actions and lever actions and shotguns. It's like the 20th century didn't happen. Technologically backwards in terms of firearm ownership, but that's where things are at the end of the first quarter of 2023. That's what I wanted to say. Finally, I would like to invite you to subscribe to TheGunBlog.ca so that I can keep offering a point of view and information and news and insight on what's happening for gun owners and businesses in Canada. Thank you.